How are you feeling? How long have you been here?
3 months, May 17th.
And what brought you?
That's difficult to answer.
Eventually resulted in your being here in the hospital.
That's difficult to answer.
this the end? There's a noise inside my head of crying people facing death. Is this the end? Is this the end? I'm burning in the there's no place to hide. I'm burning in the this is the final time. What have we done to the world? What have we done to the world? I'm burning in the there's no place to hide. I'm burning in the this is the final
All right, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to The Cult. I'm Karlyn Borysenko. This is a show that I stream Monday through Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, where we usually do deep dives into the far left. We might sometimes do deep dives into other cults too. Fun fact for new people on my channel, and welcome if you're new. I'm really excited and a little bit overwhelmed and thrilled at the amount of new people that I've seen lately. And, you know, it's exciting and terrifying, isn't it? Because the reason that I'm seeing so many new people is because there are riots. And y'all woke up rather quickly when there were riots, didn't you? But you gotta understand, I've been covering the far left for years. And so for me, when the riots started, I was like, okay, well, that makes sense. That was completely predictable. But I think a lot of people got caught off guard by the riots, quite frankly, because you weren't following my work when you should have been. But that's okay. You know what? We aren't gonna make you feel bad for being late to the party. We're just gonna welcome you in. And I actually do mean that. Listen, my work has been suppressed by, ironically, the conservative establishment for a really long time. And so if you are new, I am super psyched that you're here. I'm super excited to show you the real far left. And we are going to be watching the real far left today. We're going to be doing a couple things today. This is the first stream we're going to do where we're going to talk about the real far left. We're going to talk about Antifa. All right. And then at around 7:45, so in a couple hours, we're going to go watch another spy streamed leftist training. And so we're doing a double header. And we're not going to watch the ones with the No Kings protests that I thought we were going to watch yesterday. We're going to watch something that I think is going to be a little bit different and a little bit better and, quite frankly, more entertaining for me, which is important. But I really do appreciate you guys. If you're wondering about the name of the show, why I call it The Cult, if you're new, it's because it's a reference to the culture war. It's also a reference to the fact that I do firmly believe that the left is a cult. And I think it's kind of a sad cult, right? Because if you're talking about younger leftist protesters and organizers today, you got to understand that a lot of people are on the left because they've been indoctrinated into a cult from the time they were kids. A lot of socialists and communists are, someone asked me this question yesterday. It's actually a good question. They said, are a lot of these people like second or third generation communists? I was like, yeah, actually. When I've gone undercover at far left events, I've had people tell me, my parents were communists, my grandparents were communists. I actually have a whole communist socialist childcare plan. They actually do have childcare. People think that leftists abort all their kids. They don't. The shout your abortion people are real, they do exist, but leftists don't abort all their kids. The leftists have kids. Not only do leftists have kids, leftists have entire childcare programs. Leftists have childcare programs that they set up at their leftist meetings to indoctrinate their kids into leftism as the parents are having a meeting. Leftists will take board games like Monopoly and they change them just slightly to make them more communist. I swear to God, I've seen this in person. There's actually a communist version of Monopoly that is not about competition between other people. It's about how do we all work together and share, which I mean, I guess is a nice thing for kids to learn, but not if you're trying to indoctrinate them to be a communist, right? So that is the origin of the name, the cult. It is a reference to the culture war. It's a reference to the fact that I think the left is a cult. I also think all these different political groups and tribes are cults. And also I have been accused on the internet of having my own cult. So if you're new to my work, just actually, this is probably the perfect timing. If you're new here, just so you know, there are some people on the internet who think I am a cult leader. There are people in my chat who will warmly agree that they are members of my cult and that I'm their leader. So just to warn everyone, I'm probably the worst cult leader in the history of humanity because no one is required to be in my cult and I don't try to make you do anything. And no one has to be here. You can leave at any time. But you might be getting indoctrinated into a cult. Let me see. Why do they all look pale and sick? Well, first of all, they don't. Not all of them look pale and sick. Some of them look completely normal. With Antifa though, I mean, they don't treat themselves very well, is what I'll say. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but they don't treat themselves very, very well. Anyway, guys, welcome. Please mount the like button. Please make sure you're subscribed if you are not already. Let me show you what we're watching today. So we're going to do a couple things today. First off, breaking news. Wait, seriously? Andrew is covering one of my videos on Rumble? I hope he's being nice to me. I have been very nice to Andrew lately. I hope Andrew is being nice to me. Maybe we're building a new little, I don't know. It's like the unholy alliance with Nick Fuentes and I, except it's Andrew. Who would have thought? Wow. Well, I'm going to have to worry about that later. Hopefully Andrew's being nice. I don't want to go through the crucible. I just want to, sir, I cover the far left on the internet, sir. What's with all the scarves? Listen, I am a knitter, okay? You guys are going to see my knitting. This is the knitting that I'm working on right now. That's my knitting. Don't disrespect the knitting. Cyber LA, Rudy, don't disrespect. All right. Let me show you guys what we're going to be talking about today. Breaking news. Antifa has actually released a flyer that is specific for distribution to at the No Kings protest. So this is kind of an interesting thing, right? Because I just posted a video on the channel earlier today. I've been talking about this. The people organizing the No Kings protest, which is the big nationwide set of protests that's going on like all weekend long, they are not the same as Antifa. They're not the same at all. They're not the same in any way. Antifa doesn't communicate with the indivisible people. The indivisible people don't communicate with Antifa. But, and we knew this was going to happen anyway. We knew Antifa was going to go to the No Kings events. And now we know for certain that not only is Antifa going to the No Kings events, but they've actually created specific propaganda for these events. And this literally just got released. This is breaking news. This has been posted within the last hour. So you guys will probably be the first to see it. Congratulations. Get used to that on my channel, by the way. Most of the content I show people, I'm the first person to show it to them on the internet because I just know where to look for it. Anyway, we're going to read this flyer and we're going to see what Antifa is going to be saying at the No Kings protest. Also, Antifa also released earlier today an after action report from some of their direct action in Austin, Texas. So one of the kind of cool things about Antifa, hey, Dottie girl, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. Should we start a super chat goal today? Guys, as a reminder, I'm completely 100% funded by you. If you want to fund the work I'm doing, go ahead, send in a super chat. That would be really great. I would appreciate it if you found value in what I do. If you guys don't donate, I don't get paid. So, and that's just the way it goes. Anyway, so one of the cool things, and so we're looking at Crime Think's website right now. Crime Think is one of the publishing arms of Antifa. It's not the only one. It's not the only source of information. However, Crime Think is actually a really good source of information because they publish things in real time from what's actually going on the ground. If you were over on my Substack, I talked about this on Twitter. They published like an after action report about what happened on Saturday in Los Angeles. So that's on their website. And they've just published this new thing this morning, Melt Ice Be Like Water, which is about how they're demonstrating in Austin, Texas, like right now. So we're going to read that and we're going to hear directly from Antifa what their perspective is. And then if we have time, this is an older video, but this is actually not even a video. This is like an audiobook, but this is actually a video that I've been wanting to watch for a while. So also through Crime Think, Antifa released a step-by-step guide to engaging in direct action. Direct action means protesting, it means instigating, it means causing violence, it means causing nonsense and chaos and doing fireworks and throwing rocks and being violent towards cops and all those things. And so this is about a 30-minute reading of a document that they created specifically around what are they training Antifa people to do for direct action. And so I thought if we had time, we could give that a listen and we could find out. And maybe we end up hearing something in this document and then we watch the protests on the live streams and we go, oh, wow, remember when we heard Antifa talking about doing that thing? There they are doing that thing right there. So this is how we learn, guys. For people who are new to my channel, what I do is I show you the real leftist training content. This is not philosophy. I'm not going back and analyzing Marx or Marcuse or Hazel or any of those. Or Hegel. I don't read the philosophy of dead people unless I absolutely have to. What I do is I go into the real world and I literally show you their training videos. I show you their events. I record them undercover. I show you their documents. We read their documents. And this is what the left does to teach each other. These are the things that the left says to each other when the door is closed, when they think people like us aren't listening, because quite frankly, not a lot of people like us are listening. Which is why I'm so excited to see so many new people on the channel. Hey, thanks, Don, for the super sticker. I appreciate it. Thank you, Slash. I'm going to slash them. Thank you. I appreciate you guys. Look at that. Off to a great start already. So that is what we're going to do today, guys. We're going to look at those documents. And then a little bit later, this is the spy stream we're going to do for tonight. Okay. So there are a couple No King spy streams tonight, but I think they're going to be kind of boring if I'm honest about it. However, I was already signed up for this other leftist organizing call tonight. This is one of the leftist groups that works with Indivisible and that works with the teachers unions to organize the protests, like the ones we're going to see on Saturday. And they have an organizing call tonight called The Billionaire Power Grab and How We Fight Back. And it says billionaires are buying influence, getting public services, and rewriting the rules to serve themselves, not us. We're targeting our communities, our jobs, and our democracy, but we have the power, people power to push back when we organize, blah, da, 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 da. So this is going to be a leftist training that we're going to infiltrate. It starts at 8 p.m. Eastern time tonight. I'm going to shut down this stream that we're currently on. We're going to go over to a different stream to do it there. And we will go and we will watch this organizing meeting, and we'll see what they have to say. And I'm just going to broadcast it live on the channel. This is a public spy stream. And so you're going to get to see inside a live leftist organizing call to see what they talk about. Again, when they think people like us aren't listening, but I think they may have been clued in to the fact that we're listening now, but that's okay. We can still listen. Nothing wrong with that. So that is what we're going to be doing at 8 p.m., guys. That stream is going to be a separate stream on the channel. I will drop the link in the chat before we end this stream so you guys can bounce over to the other one. Also, shout out to people watching on Rumble. I will be streaming this on Rumble and on X as well, and on Kick. I guess I'm on there now. Okay, but we're going to be doing it in all the places. But if you want the best chat experience is always over on YouTube. So come find me on YouTube, come subscribe to the channel, and come do streams with us. Also, last thing, If you'd like to support the work I'm doing, the very best place to do so is over on my Substack. Now, minimally, please make sure you are subscribed to my Substack for free. It is Karlyn, Karlyn, .substack.com. And I do live streams on the Substack. I just did a live stream right before I went live. I'm talking about the protests and talking about what I think we're going to see this weekend. You can catch up with the on-demand replay over on the Substack now. Get the Substack app and make sure you turn on notifications, and it will tell you when I do exclusive live streams over on my Substack. Also, this is the very best place to sign up if you want to support my work for $8 a month, $80 a year. And again, I'm 100% funded by you guys. I can't do it without you. Yo, Christopher! Can you help us learn how to identify some of the protest groups? Christopher, 1,000,000,000,000% yes. I absolutely can help you learn how to identify some of the protest groups. In fact, Christopher, why don't I do this? I'm not prepared to do it right this second, but if you give me until tomorrow, on tomorrow's live stream, what I'll do is I'll take you through some of the main groups that I think we're going to see at the protests. And I'll do a whole, I'm going to show you pictures of them so you can see kind of what they look like, and I'll talk about the differences. Does that sound okay? Because this is actually, it's a great question. I've been really trying to emphasize the fact that there are many, 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 many different groups on the left. They are completely decentralized. But if you understand what they look like, you will be able to identify them. And then this is one of the things we do on the channel too, is we watch all the different leftist groups. So on this channel, we're going to watch Antifa. We're going to watch the Party for Socialism and Liberation. We're going to watch the Denver Communists. We're going to watch the Seattle Revolutionary Socialists. We're going to watch the Firebrand Collective, the Tempest Collective. We're going to watch the Revolutionary Communists of America. We even sometimes lower ourselves to watch the Democratic Socialists of America, even though they're not really even that interesting. But we watch the entire span of leftist organizing, as many groups as we can find. And so we look at them as individual groups. And once you get into this content and you start watching it with us, you're very clearly going to see the difference between the Revolutionary Communists of America and the Party for Socialism and Liberation and all the other groups, because they are all very different. And some of them get along and some of them don't get along. But 100%, I will do my best to help you identify some of the protest groups, and I will have something specific tomorrow. And thank you for the generous super chat. I really, really, really do appreciate it. All right, let's jump into this, shall we? So what I want people to know, the first thing we're going to look at is the document that Antifa has created specifically for distribution at the No Kings protest that's coming up this weekend. Now, again, as a reminder, Antifa is not the organizer of the No Kings protest. The organizers of the No Kings protest are a completely separate organization. They are a progressive organization. They're not even a far leftist organization. However, Antifa is going to piggyback on what they're doing to show up to try to radicalize more people. And how generous of them, they published the propaganda that they're going to be handing out at the protest on their website. So one of the things that I want people to see about this, actually the first thing I want people to see, and I'll go ahead and put the link in the chat. You guys can just look at it directly. For people who are new to my work, I do everything extremely transparently. All my information is public on the internet. I will always give you access to finding the information directly for yourself. So one of the things, yo, Trendolin! Thank you, Trendolin. I appreciate it. Are you going to try to get me to play the Penguin song or something? Thank you, Trendolin. Trendolin is a regular on the channel. You guys will get used to her. She's kind of a pain in the ass, but that's all right. She just gave me $50, so I'll be nice to her for the moment. Thank you, Trendolin. I appreciate you. Don't you dare make me play that Penguin song. I'm not going to do it. Anyway, one of the things I want you guys to see about this document, and actually just go into the PDF, there is nothing on this document that identifies an organization. This is a pure piece of propaganda to try to get people to think in a certain way, to radicalize them against the Democratic Party. I promise you, Antifa thinks that the people that are showing up at these No Kings protests over the weekend, Antifa thinks that these are Democrats and liberals that can be radicalized to move further left. That's why they're doing this. And you're going to see this when we read this document. But the purpose of this document is not to say, hey, come join us in Antifa. Here is where we meet. That's not what they're doing. The purpose of this document is to plant seeds. It's to plant the ideas. Because if you look at the PDF, and again, they distribute this for people to print out and hand out themselves at these protests, there's nothing identifying the organization that put this together. There's literally nothing on the document identifying the organization. Because the purpose is not the identity of the organization. They probably don't even want people to know that this is from Antifa. The purpose is to plant the idea. But if you're at one of these protests and you get handed one of these flyers, I want you to know where it came from, and I want you to have some context for what it says. So if you see one of these things, you just talk to Antifa, bro. Congrats. Now, what we're going to do is I'm going to have my handy dandy AI voice reader read this for us. And we're very lucky that every time Antifa publishes something on their website, they actually put the full text just on their website too. So we have the document, we have the PDF, but I'm going to have our handy dandy voice thing, not that. Come on, natural reader. There we go. I'm going to have my handy dandy voice thing read this for us, and we're going to do commentary. All right. So, no, the left is not insane. I understand why you think that, and this is going to be a common question I get. Guys, listen. I'm being deadly serious. I've been studying the left for years in depth. I have been in their organizations. I've been in their meetings. I've been in their subculture. I know the left as well as they know themselves. The left is not insane. They're not mentally ill. They're not lazy. They are highly organized. They are highly strategic. They are highly effective in their tactics. And I know you don't think that because you think they're Democrats, probably, but you have got to understand that the real far left are not Democrats or liberals or progressives. They hate Democrats and liberals and progressives. The people causing all the chaos, the people causing the riots, the people causing the violence, the people setting things on fire, they did not vote for Kamala Harris. They don't believe in participating in elections. And so it is, I understand, a completely different mindset. No, they're not mentally ill. Every single time you guys say that they're mentally ill, you dismiss them and they make more progress. Please, I am begging you to stop doing this. Do you want to know why the left keeps winning even when they lose elections? Because right now, guys, the left are controlling the entire country with these protests. Everyone understands that, right? There are so many new people here because the left is doing what they're doing, because they're being highly strategic. And every single time you guys say they're mentally ill, you're allowing them to make more progress. You're allowing them to operate completely unopposed. This is why they keep making progress. So I'm not trying to make anyone feel bad. I understand where these talking points come from. I really, really, really do. Well, are they delusional? Because they're controlling the entire country right now. They're controlling the protests. They're controlling the police officers. They're controlling ICE. They're controlling the Trump administration. They're getting Trump to send out you guys got to stop, breathe, slow down, okay? Just because someone sees something very differently than you do doesn't mean they're insane. And I say this as someone, people might think I'm being sympathetic to the left. I'm not. I hate the left. I don't want the left to win. I am desperate for the left to not. I don't want to live in a Marxist utopia. I don't think you want to live in a Marxist utopia either. So can we please? Anyway, let's get into this and let's read their document. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have the AI read the text on this page here, which is exactly the same as in the document. And let's see what Antifa wants people to know. I'm going to start. Hopefully this works. Pray it works. It's not going to work, is it? Never works when I need it to. Play.
It is fascism. Start acting like it.
There it is.
Yes, Trump probably has a master plan to use riots to justify military occupation. And just like his master plan to use tariffs to bring back jobs, it is completely idiotic. They believe they can beat and intimidate us into submission. But this will backfire. If every city in America fought like the angels on the first nights of the LA uprising, the regime wouldn't stand a chance.
Listen to what they're talking about. If every city in America fought like the angels on the first night of the LA uprising, the regime wouldn't stand a chance. They're already putting an iconic status around what happened in Los Angeles. This is exactly what they did in 2020. In 2020, they called the BLM riots of 2020 the George Floyd uprising or the George Floyd rebellion. And they're doing the same thing here. They're calling it the Los Angeles uprising.
If every city in America fought like the
Hang on. Guys, listen. I know there are a lot of new people in the chat. I know you guys are all really excited. I see that there are a lot of questions in the chat. Can everyone just hold on to their questions so we can review this document? And you're welcome to ask questions about the document specifically, but if you have questions or comments that are not related to the document, can we please just, I'm not saying I'm not going to answer them. I'm saying put them in your back pocket for a second because we need to be able to analyze this document to know what's going on. I do want to just take one question. No, Marxist ideals are not seen on the right. Listen, if anyone here believes James Lindsay's woke right bullshit, can I just confirm for everyone, I have debunked James Lindsay's work many, many, many times over using real evidence from the real far left. There's no Marxism going on the right. There's no woke right. All of that it's nonsense. You will learn to see this once you come spend time on my channel. But like, focus on the document. How you're going to learn about the left is by focusing on the evidence right in front of us. And again, asking questions related to this. And then if you have separate questions about the left, I can do those after. No. We do not engage in conservative bullshit here. No. The woke right is not real. If you're not here to learn, go somewhere else. And now we're going to focus on this.
If every city in America fought like the angels on the first nights of the LA uprising, the regime wouldn't stand a chance. The decisive moment has arrived. Trump has deployed active duty Marines to Los Angeles and threatened to use equal or greater force across the country if people dare to resist his agenda. The Democratic Party, the courts, and all the existing institutions of government have failed. The law is now Trump's weapon, and the police, you see, DHS, FBI, the National Guard, the Marines, whatever, all of them are now his foot soldiers.
Okay, I want people to read this. The Democratic Party, the courts, and all existing institutions of government have failed. This is Antifa telling you they believe the Democratic Party has completely failed. This is the message that they want to send to Democrats and liberals and progressives at this protest. They're trying to plant the seed. The Democratic Party has failed you. The Democratic Party has failed you. Look at that shitty presidential candidate. They get Kamala Harris. Are you kidding me? They hated Kamala Harris, by the way. Because Kamala Harris is a cop. Far left revolutionaries hate cops. So they hated Kamala Harris. And so they didn't vote for her. I don't want to see anyone in the chat saying they still voted for her. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. They really didn't. They're trying to get people to radicalize, to go farther left, and to leave the failed Democratic Party. Exactly. Yes. Yes. The Democratic Party is not radical enough for them, not by a long shot.
The law is now Trump's weapon, and the police, you see, DHS, FBI, the National Guard, the Marines, whatever, all of them are now his foot soldiers. This is fascism. You know it. Now is the time to start acting like it. The regime will not be swayed by empathy with peaceful protesters or opinion polls or the threat of a blue wave in the midterms. That is no longer the country we are in.
Okay. The regime will not be swayed by empathy or peaceful protesters or opinion polls or the threat of a blue wave in the midterms. There's a lot in that sentence. Actually, let me make this, maybe I can make this bigger so you guys can see it better. That's probably a better idea. You can see right here. Can I move you? No, of course I can't move the thing I want to move. The regime will not be swayed by empathy with peaceful protesters or opinion polls or the threat of a blue wave in the midterms. They're trying to tell people peaceful protests are not going to achieve our goals. They're trying to tell people elections will not achieve our goals. This is really important for people to understand. There are two types of activism on the left. There's reformists and there's revolutionaries. Reformists want to work within the current system. So an organization like the Democratic Socialists of America, who, by the way, Antifa hates the Democratic Socialists of America, the DSA with AOC and Bernie Sanders and all that stuff. The Democratic Socialists of America are reformers. They want to work within the current electoral system to make small incremental changes that they hope will lead to a more socialist society over time. Antifa are revolutionary communists. They do not believe in elections. They do not participate in elections. They do not run candidates for elections. Even when there are political parties among revolutionary communists, they are under no illusion they're not going to win an election. That's not the purpose of the political party. So, for example, the Party for Socialism and Liberation, it's a political party. Technically, they do run candidates. They ran a presidential candidate last election cycle. But the purpose of organizations like the Party for Socialism and Liberation or the Revolutionary Communists of America is that they are giving people a social system to join. They're giving them a club, okay? They're saying, come be part of our club, come to our events, come show up and do protests with us, come do activism with us. They're giving them something to join so that when the revolution comes, and these groups kind of think the revolution might be starting right now, when the revolution comes, they already organized and they're already in a group. So what we're talking about here, when they're talking about the threat of a blue wave is not going to get us to where we want to go, they're flat out telling you, we don't participate in elections. This is not electoral change. They want to violently overthrow the current system, and they're trying to radicalize other people to also want to violently overthrow the current system.
That is no longer the country we are in. When the law becomes the weapon of tyrants, we are all above the law. That is what it means to say the people are sovereign. Disruptive, courageous action is our only chance. The first days of the Los Angeles uprising showed us what effective action looks like. Not an army with guns, but everyday people collectively dismantling police equipment, preventing ICE and the cops from enforcing Trump commands. In a democracy, you vote a president out. In fascism, you prevent the dictator's functionaries from carrying out his will.
Okay, isn't this interesting? They're saying, we're not going to bring, well, I'm sure some of them do have guns, by the way. It is, by the way, incorrect to think that the left doesn't have guns. The left absolutely has guns, but they're saying an effective army isn't showing up and just like brandishing weapons. An effective army in this case is preventing Trump from doing what Trump wants to do. This is the goal of this. This has always been Antifa's goal. Antifa's been talking about attacking ICE facilities, disrupting deportation operations since weeks after Trump got elected, all right? So they're telling you their strategy is that they want to prevent the dictator's functionaries, ICE in this case, from carrying out his will. Their goal is to disrupt the deportations. Because in their minds, if they're disrupting the deportations, they're disrupting fascism.
In fascism, you prevent the dictator's functionaries from carrying out his will. A king is only a king when his wish is your command. When the people refuse to let his wishes come true, he becomes a clown. Now, this is the best chance we have to topple this regime. If we wait, they will consolidate control of education and the media. They will
Guys, if we don't do this now, the Trump regime is going to consolidate control of all education in the media. They're trying to scare people to get them into action.
They will rewrite history and churn out a generation of loyalists. In the months and years to come, it will only get harder to fight for freedom. A warning. We're being told that disruptive demonstrations are just playing into Trump's hands by giving him a pretext for military dictatorship. The regime doesn't need a pretext. They will invent whatever reasons they want to justify what they are going to do.
So I want to emphasize this. So there was a lot of reporting yesterday about how some of these groups are making a special effort to get American flags. Have people heard about this? So obviously all of these really bad images for their side came out of the Los Angeles protests and riots, which is a bunch of Mexicans and illegal immigrants waving Mexican flags. Like, this was not a good look, right? And mostly the people who were doing that were the immigrant rights groups. They were the immigrant groups and the people specifically focused on that issue. So after all of these pictures went viral with the Mexican flags, they said, maybe we should be getting some American flags and waving those. Maybe those would be better optics. Well, I said at the time, that's not Antifa. Those are the immigrant groups. Someone asked earlier, can you help us tell the difference between the groups? Here's one of the tells. If someone is waving an American flag, they are absolutely not Antifa. They are not revolutionary socialists. They are not revolutionary communists. You guys got to understand why I keep trying to tell you guys that they're not mentally ill is because far leftists see this as their whole identity. It is their entire world. People ask me all the time, Karlyn, does the left really believe what they claim to believe? And I say, yes, they do. They believe it to the core of their soul. That's why they act the way they do. They literally believe that capitalism has created all problems in the world. Capitalism has created human suffering. They actually believe that capitalism is going to kill everyone because of climate change. We'll talk about that another day. But they really do believe that. They believe we are all literally going to die because of capitalism. Now, you might disagree with them, and it's okay to disagree with them, but this is about learning how to think like them. If you believe that everyone in the world is literally going to die because of an oppressive ideology, are you going to do everything you can to try to stop that oppressive ideology? That's what the left is doing. They very literally believe that they are going to die if they do not overthrow what they call the capitalist U.S. government. They call the Constitution the capitalist U.S. Constitution. So for that reason, they literally believe that is the ultimate enemy for them. They are never going to fly an American flag. It's not going to happen because to them, the American flag represents capitalism. It represents every single thing that is wrong with the world, every problem that has ever made them suffer. They are never going to fly that flag. And what they're saying here is, we don't care about optics. That's what they're saying. We're being told that disruptive demonstrations are just playing into Trump's hands by giving him a pretext for military dictatorship. The regime doesn't need a pretext. They will invent whatever reasons they want to justify what they're going to do. They're saying, we don't care about optics. So this is one of the ways that you can tell Antifa from other groups, because it's the immigrant groups that are waving the American flags. It's Antifa that's burning the American flag on the ground. Everyone understand the difference? No, they don't do that. You're not listening. You're not listening. Guys, you've got to look at the left as they are. Stop trying to fit the left into your narrative and your talking points. You are never going to understand the left if you try to take them and twist them to fit into the worldview that you have. A lot of you think you understand the left and you don't. That's not your fault. It's the fault of your influencers. But like you're going to have to unlearn a lot of things if you're going to understand the left truly and sincerely. Let's see. I had a member chat from Maria. Thanks, Maria. Back in 2018, I used to say, of course I'm Antifa. I'm an anti-fascist. And that's when I got out of the DSA. I was their target audience for recruitment. Yes, you were. Yes, you were 100%. You were not radical enough for them in the DSA, but they tried to convince you to be an anti-fascist because you were, of course, against fascism. Maria's a former leftist, of course. All right, let's keep going.
They will invent whatever reasons they want to justify what they are going to do. Peacefully making our voices heard will do nothing to stop them. They don't care. You know this. With judges and politicians unable or unwilling, it is up to us to stop the fascist machine.
The judges and politicians are unable to stop the fascist regime. They don't think those judges that are going against Trump are doing enough.
The opening moves of the LA uprising shows how to stop it. It began with people refusing to stand by during an ICE raid and surrounding ICE agents. It moved to burning their cars, throwing rocks and fireworks at the police.
So now they're saying, listen, we've already given you guys the game plan. Okay, so here's what's happening here. Antifa's got these flyers. They're going to go around to the No Kings protests all over the country and hand out these flyers, not just in LA. They're going to do this everywhere. They're telling the people who are reading these flyers, listen, we already gave you a game plan to push back against Trump. They're trying to subtly say, we already told you what to do. We already showed you what to do. The opening moves of the LA uprising shows how to stop it. It began with people refusing to stand by during an ICE raid and surrounding ICE agents. It moved to burning their cars, throwing rocks and fireworks at the police. They're telling people what to do. They're trying to get this to spread to other cities by saying, you guys can literally just look at what we did in Los Angeles and do that in Minneapolis, Boston, New York, Atlanta, Columbus, Ohio, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Phoenix, Arizona, Austin, Texas, whatever city you want. That's what they're doing.
This is not new. You remember the summer of 2020.
Oh,
The George Floyd rebellion opened with a police precinct burned, cop cars disabled, corporate stores looted across the country. It was only after weeks of riots that this memory was publicly erased and it was turned into a largely nonviolent movement. This was its defeat. We are in this mess now because we didn't dismantle the police state then. Fighting back.
wait, look at this. We are in this mess now because we didn't go far enough in 2020. We didn't dismantle the police state in 2020. It's actually up to about 2,000 cities now. The 1,400 is an old number. I know where you got it, though, but it's up to about 2,000 cities. So they're telling people, we should have defunded and abolished the police when we had a chance in 2020. And the reason that we are suffering this horrible fascist dictatorship now is because we didn't do enough back then. Average person in with a super chat. Love seeing lots of new people. Debunking accomplishes nothing. Just listen and soak in the info. We're going to have to train a lot of new people not to debunk the left. That's all right. You know what? I'm thrilled as well with how many new people are here. Guys, please make sure you are subscribed to my channel. If you are not already, I stream Monday through Friday doing stuff exactly like this. I will show you the real far left. I'll show you what they're talking about, what they're doing, their videos, their trainings, all that stuff. I hope you'll come join us. We also do Socialism Saturdays on Saturdays at 6 p.m. And hopefully we'll have some protest coverage to watch this Saturday.
Fighting back is collective strategic intelligence. Tyrants are nothing without police to carry out their commands. Police are nothing without their tools, and guns are the least of them. It is their cars, cameras, stations, and the toys of tech fascist companies like Palantir, Flock, G4S, and others that create the illusion of their total power.
Yo, we just had Nick give some memberships on the channel. Let's see. Russell got a membership. Zoom got a membership. Doctor got a membership. Level On Up got a membership. Amy got a membership. Welcome to channel membership, guys. I really, really do appreciate the support, Nick. Thank you. So what they're saying here is, guys, this isn't just about the guns. We want to destroy the police cars, the police cameras, the stations, the toys of technology. Again, they're giving their playbook. Here are the things that we need to get rid of.
We know from the summer of 2020 that masses of people can make quick, easy work of THS illusion. We win not by appealing to the ruler's conscience, but by dismantling the machines and companies that enable their rule. Peaceful demonstrations, to be effective, need to be part of this overall disruptive movement, refusing to condemn those who take risks on all of our behalf, hanging banners in support of them, and insisting that normal life cannot be continued until the regime falls.
Okay, so they're saying, and again, remember, this is to hand out at the No Kings protest. Peaceful demonstrations are only going to be effective if they're part of a larger disruptive movement. So Antifa's basically saying, guys, we're dictating the terms here. You are underneath our umbrella. All you progressives, that's all real nice that you want to do these speeches and stuff like that, and you want to make sure that you're doing non-violent action or stuff like that. They're saying, no, your peaceful protests are nice, but they only work when they're part of a larger disruptive umbrella. And then they're saying, if you refuse to take part in that disruptive umbrella, then you are literally supporting the fascist regime. You should be encouraging us. You should be hanging banners on our behalf. You should be supporting us exactly like that. Everyone, does that make sense to everyone?
Hanging banners in support of them and insisting that normal life cannot be continued until the regime falls. They will call it chaos. They will call it insurrection. They will use it to justify more force. And then they will lose. Because they cannot govern America by force alone. They require our cooperation, our obeying in advance, our submission to their unjust peace. When we withdraw it and become an obstacle to their power, they lose.
Okay, so Antifa are anti-assimilationists. They have no intention of assimilating their tactics to creating just a nice, peaceful society. They're prepared. Isn't it funny? They said, listen, guys, the Trump people, they're going to call us insurrectionists. And you know what? We don't care. So this is actually a lesson for conservatives. You know, if you guys want to call them insurrectionists on Twitter, you know, go ahead, I guess. But Antifa's saying, listen, we know what you're going to do. You're going to try to say we're insurrectionists, and in return, we're going to tell you to fuck off, and we're going to keep doing what we want to do. They're not going to stop, guys. This is, I think, one of the biggest points I want new people to understand. This is not going to go away because these people are radicalized, militant, true believers to their cause, and they don't care what you have to say about it. They don't care about memes. They don't care about the owning the libs talking points on Twitter. They don't care if all the talking heads are posting videos of them denouncing them. They don't care. And you don't have to agree with them. And I know no one here probably agrees with them. But you have to understand they're not going to turn this off. This doesn't turn off once they get started.
When we withdraw it and become an obstacle to their power, they lose. If we fight, we will win. In a dictatorship, we are not citizens with rights. We are earthlings, being threatened with extinction by a small group of psychopaths. We have a choice. We are either under Trump's rule, or we are above all his laws. All acts of resistance to tyranny are acts of community self-defense. What is at stake now are the lives and freedom of those we love. It is time to act like it.
All right. That is the end of the flyer. I want to just comment on these last two sentences. All acts of resistance to tyranny are acts of community self-defense. They believe they're defending themselves. And I know you're like, that's obviously not happening, Karlyn. They're obviously the aggressors. Well, yeah, they are. But in their heads, they believe to the core of their souls that they are being oppressed by this fascist system, and their actions will be based on that belief. It won't be based on your beliefs. It'll be based on their beliefs. They believe that what is at stake is the lives and freedom of everyone they know and love. They believe that this oppressive system will literally kill them all. And again, we don't need to agree with them to say, if someone truly believes that, if this person is a zealot, as these people are, then they are going to act in accordance with that belief, and that's going to dictate violent bullshit and nonsense for the entire summer. So this is the flyer that they're handing out at the No Kings protest. The purpose is to radicalize Democrats and leftists to become more leftist and more militant and more violent. It's not to get them to join Antifa because there's no indication of who's handing this out. But, you know, they assume that if you get more radicalized, you'll find them eventually. So that's thing number one that we're going to look at, I hope, is how's everyone feeling? Is everyone terrified? How are you guys feeling in the chat? What do you think about this? Is this the first time people have ever seen Antifa documents before? I would be especially interested to hear from new people. We're going to move on to another document, but I want to hear from new people first what you guys thought about this. And if you have questions about any of this, now is a great time to ask questions because I'm paying attention to the chat. Let's see. Super chat from Maria Callis fan. They're absolutely zealots or absolutist zealots. I recently had two leftist friends, 5 to 10 years, worked on projects together, say they wanted no further contact with me because I didn't support socialism. Wasn't that nice of them? They're always so stunning and brave, aren't they? Wasn't that nice? Thanks, Maria Callis fan, for that. Let me see what else is going on in the chat. So what they think life would be like. Okay. So I've done videos about this. I've got a breakdown of this on the Substack. Let me give you an overview. A too long didn't read. Communists want to abolish all private property ownership. That is the goal. When they say they want to abolish capitalism, they want to abolish all private property ownership. The reason they want to do that is they believe capitalism creates all hierarchies in which some people have more stuff than other people. Hierarchies create oppression because some people have more stuff than other people. So therefore, the goal is to abolish all private property. What does that look like? You will not have the ability to own a home. You will not have the ability to own land. You will not have the ability to own an apartment rental that you rent out as a landlord or an Airbnb. You will not have the ability to own intellectual property. You will not have the ability to own a private business, whether that private business is big or small. You will not have parental rights over your children. They consider parental rights to be a form of private property ownership. That's why they want to abolish the nuclear family. We'll talk about that extensively another day because that's a whole big topic on its own. All healthcare would be universal healthcare, universal free on demand. All energy would be controlled by the centralized community council or whatever. They decide if you heat your home in the winter. They decide if you get to go have gas to put in the car. There would be no money. They want to abolish all money. They want to abolish all banking. There would be no prisons. There would be no police. You hear them talk a lot about abolish the police, defund the police. They very literally want to get rid of all prisons and all police. They believe that capitalism creates all crime because all crime is created by oppression. And therefore, ergo, if they just get rid of capitalism, they'll get rid of all crime. They will also get rid of all gender. There will be no gender in the Marxist utopia. And a whole bunch of other terrifying things as well, but that's your basic overview of what they want. I have them on video saying all of this. So let me see if there's other questions in the chat. The goal isn't chaos. They have a very strategic plan about what they want to do. Their plan is boneheaded and wrong and stupid. But yeah, this is batshit crazy. Oh, just wait, Christopher. Oh, Christopher, you're going to love some of the stuff I have to show you. You've never seen anything like this? I love that we're introducing so many new people to this stuff. You guys are going to... Just so you guys know, on a scale of 1 to 10, the document that we just read is maybe like a 7, maybe a 6 or a 7 on a scale of 1 to 10. I think I might be generous. I mean, it's maybe more like a 6. We've seen way worse stuff than this, like significantly worse stuff. And you'll see all of it if you stick around the channel, and it'll be great. What is one huge misconception that your average groyper might have about the left? Oh, welcome, groypers. We love groypers here. We are Nick Fuentes respecters on this channel. Okay. You're not going to like the answer, Brandon, but I'm going to answer it, and I'm going to say, I understand the groyper point of view on race. I do understand your perspective about race. When the left says whiteness or white supremacy, they don't mean skin color. They mean systemic racism, which means the system that upholds racism, which means capitalism. So when the left is talking about abolishing whiteness, they're not talking about genociding white people. They're talking about abolishing capitalism. And they all understand this. Now, obviously, you guys have different opinions about race. And I know why you have those opinions. And I want to say, too, you have legitimate grievances. I don't agree with everything that you guys and Nick say, but you have legitimate grievances about the eventual erasure of white people. What I want you to hear is, it's not the left's intent to erase white people. They don't care about skin color, but it is the obvious logical conclusion of their actions. So it's one of those things where it's like intent versus impact. And it's important. And I'm not saying the impact is something that I would want. I think that would be a bad impact. But I'm saying that the intent of the left is not to genocide white people. It is to abolish capitalism. And it's important that you guys understand that intent, because that intent is going to lead to you not having parental rights over your kids. I know people think Groypers are all incels. They're not actually all incels. Some of them are married with families. If you want to maintain parental rights over your kids, that is a question of capitalism. If you want the ability to buy a home, that's a question of capitalism. If you want the ability to open a business and make a ton of money, as I know you guys like to do, that is a question of capitalism. So I guess the biggest thing I would say to the Groypers is start separating those issues in your head. Understand what the left's intent is, but you can still have your focus on the white race. You can still do that. But just understand that they're two separate things, is what I would say. No, it's not all funded by annoying billionaires. It's really not. Most of these things are not funded by billionaires. Let me see. I'm just scrolling through the chat, guys, to get caught up. No, actually, the WEF hates them. The WEF is a completely separate thing. The WEF is a problem, but it's not this problem. This is a completely separate problem. We'll talk about that another day. Oh gosh, the chat is so fast and furious. Okay. Hey, thanks for the super chat, Semper and Meloria. Not only will they determine if you get food, water, heat, and a place to live, you'll have to justify to them why you should be able to receive those things. Yup. Very, very true. Very true. I appreciate the super chat. Thank you. Let me see. I'm just scrolling through the chat. Okay. We're going to turn to this other document. This is a document that Antifa literally published like today. You can see 6/11/25. And this is a report back. And if you don't know what a Groyper is, don't worry about it. Groypers are Nick Fuentes fans. If you don't know what that is, don't worry about it, okay? This is a document that Antifa just published today. Is like an after action of what happened in Austin. So basically, this is Antifa communicating back, saying, guys, here was what we did in Austin. Here's what that means for all you other groups around the country. So let's hear what they had to say. Oh, need my handy dandy reader again. Come on. Not going to read this whole thing myself. There it goes.
Melt ICE be water. Report back from a hot summer demonstration in Austin, Texas. The wave of resistance to federal raids that erupted in Minneapolis and spread to Los Angeles is generating shockwaves of revolt all around the country. As Donald Trump concentrates National Guard Marines in Los Angeles in an effort to terrorize those who are bravely standing up for their communities. The best form of solidarity is to extend the battle line.
Do you guys like the language that they use? As Donald Trump concentrates National Guard and Marines in Los Angeles in an effort to terrorize those who are bravely standing up for their communities. You can see the oppressor versus oppressed narrative, right? Donald Trump, the evil oppressor, bringing in the military to oppress the communities. And then these brave warriors that are just standing up for their people, but they really do believe this.
The best form of solidarity is to extend the battle lines far and wide, overstretching the mercenaries who serve him. In the following account, Participants in a demonstration in Austin, Texas on June 9th described how they escaped the control of party organizers who sought to limit the potential of the protest, then evaded police for 2 hours, escalating the pressure on those who seek to subdue us.
I know exactly what they're talking about here. Do you guys want to know what's funny? They're talking about the Party for Socialism and Liberation. I know they're talking about the Party for Socialism and Liberation because I've seen them kind of shit talk them elsewhere. In the following account, participants in a demonstration, I'm pretty sure they are anyway, participants in a demonstration in Austin, Texas on June 9th describe how they escaped the control of party organizers, I'm pretty sure that's the Party for Socialism and Liberation, who sought to limit the potential of the protest, and then evaded the police for 2 hours, escalating the pressure on those who seek to subdue us. What they're saying is the organizers of the protest didn't want us to be violent in our methods. The organizers of the protest were trying to corral us and make us be peaceful protesters, but we escaped the control of the party organizers. This is, again, another example of how Antifa is different than the Party for Socialism and Liberation. I know that the PSL is getting a lot of press. The PSL is generally nonviolent, though. Don't get it twisted. They will get violent if they have to. They will do graffiti. They will be destructive. But generally speaking, the Party for Socialism and Liberation is nonviolent, and they don't want those types of optics. Antifa's like, fuck you guys. We want to be violent. We're going to escape control of the oppressive party.
Melt ICE be water. On the evening of Monday, June 9th, over 600 protesters gathered at the Texas Capitol for a march announced by the Party for Socialism and Liberation.
I mean, can I get some Karlyn was right in the chat? I didn't read this before I showed it to you guys. I told you, Antifa doesn't like the Party for Socialism and Liberation. They've been shit-talking them in their documents. I want to see some Karlyn was right in the chats, please. Thank you. Thank you, Liquid Marble. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You guys will get used to that, by the way.
On the evening of Monday, June 9th, over 600 protesters gathered at the Texas Capitol for a march announced by the Party for Socialism and Liberation. A revolutionary organization called for a parallel demonstration with a start time set an hour and a half later in front of the J.J. Pickle Federal Building, a U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement facility 4 blocks from the Capitol. The PSL rally began marching, tailed by a police motorcycle escort, and reached the IC facility by 7:45 p.m. The group was energetic and angry. A huge crowd chanted outside the building. Drummers beat a rhythm to the sound of breaking windows. Some people dragged scooters into the street. Others painted pro-immigration and anti-IC slogans or threw balloons filled with paint.
Okay, so anytime you guys are seeing graffiti, like the fuck ICE graffiti or the kill cops graffiti, that's almost always Antifa. I also want people to notice they had drummers. The drummers are, you know, it's funny. I almost think that they're communicating with each other using the drums. I don't know exactly how it works yet. But they're saying the drummers beat a rhythm to the sound of breaking windows. Kind of sounds like those two things are combined. If you hear drummers, maybe you might hear breaking windows.
Some people dragged scooters into the street. Others painted pro-immigration and anti-IC slogans or threw balloons filled with paint. All the while, red shirt organizers from PSL were urging the crowd to keep moving. Dozens of people pushed back, chanting, "ICE is right here." Nonetheless, by 8 p.m., the PSL organizers had mobilized most of the crowd back towards the Capitol, successfully convincing some participants to tell others that moving would keep the group safe.
So they're shit-talking the PSL. They're like, the PSL is not our friends. They're not letting us be violent and break windows and stuff like that. Hey, Andre, you're right. Texas is deploying National Guard. Guys, don't think for 1 second that this can't happen in red states. By the way, I know we're going to be talking about a lot of blue states and blue cities over the coming weeks, and there's going to be a lot of violence in those places. But don't for 1 second believe that this cannot happen in red states. It will happen in red states. It's happening in Texas right now. Watch the Andrew Wilson clip. He seemed to like you since you complimented his debate style. But after the clip, he talked about the fun. Oh, hey, listen, man. Okay, I never debate people. I literally never debate people. I don't think debates are a good idea. I would absolutely debate Andrew Wilson on this. I would 100,000,000,000,000,000% debate Andrew Wilson on this. So someone can go deliver that message over to the Crucible. If Andrew Wilson wants to talk about the far left, I will debate Andrew Wilson on the far left. If Andrew Wilson wants to talk about funding sources for the far left, I will run circles around his ass with primary source receipts. I am not one of those stupid porn stars and OnlyFans girls, rather, strike that, reverse it. I am not one of those stupid women that Andrew Wilson debates on the Whatever podcast. If he wants to debate me on the far left, I will do that every day of the week. And listen, I'm actually on a pro Andrew Wilson kick right now. I actually kind of like Andrew Wilson. Don't tell anyone I fucking am starting to like Andrew Wilson, okay? I really don't want to. I really don't want to like Andrew Wilson, and it's really sad and it's really awful, and I don't want to, but I do kind of like Andrew Wilson. So I'm actually not shit talking him. I think that would be an interesting exercise to debate him on the far left, because I do actually respect him as a debater. I think he actually does a really good job. So someone can go tell him. I don't know. Maybe is that how the internet works these days? You guys can go and deliver the message. Okay, let's continue.
Nonetheless, by 8 p.m., the PSL organizers had mobilized most of the crowd back towards the Capitol, successfully convincing some participants to tell others that moving would keep the group safe. A splinter group of about 100 stayed behind and continued to express their feelings with art and music. The march was effectively split between those who were acting on their own initiative and those who were submitting to the authority of the PSL. The march surrounds the JJ Pickle Federal.
Wait. Oh, here's pictures from the march. So you can kind of see what they look like. Guys, if you see people in masks like this, they're almost always Antifa. By the way, people think that Antifa only dresses in black. Antifa specifically dresses like normies for a lot of this protest because they don't want people to be able to identify them as like Antifa instead of normies. So look at this, though. They're trying to paint the Party for Socialism and Liberation as the oppressors. This is so funny. This is we're gonna see a whole factional warfare on the left between Antifa and the Party for Socialism and Liberation. The march was effectively split between those who were acting on their own initiative, Antifa, and those who were submitting to the authority of the evil, oppressive Party for Socialism and Liberation.
PSL shepherded the larger group back towards the Capitol building to an intersection with nothing but high fences, mounted cops, and streets blockaded by police. PSL organizers got on a microphone to formally disband the march. They thanked everybody for coming and encouraged them to go home and rest up to do it all again later. The crowd grew uncertain, largely returning to the sidewalk in front of the fenced-off Capitol and very nearly ceding the street to the police, except for a few insistent spirits who remained in the intersection.
Hang on, we got a super chat coming in from Scabs. Former leftist, by the way. An hour behind because I was listening to Broken Crown. Would love to hear a discussion between Aiden. I don't know about that one. I don't have anything against her, a certified social scientist and the queen fascist bitch. I don't know, man. I interacted with her a little bit in 2020, I think. I don't really remember that much about her. If she wants to reach out to me to talk to me, she's more than welcome to do so. But thank you for the super chat. I really do appreciate it.
The crowd grew uncertain, largely returning to the sidewalk in front of the fenced-off Capitol and very nearly ceding the street to the police, except for a few insistent spirits who remained in the intersection, dancing with banners. Troopers blared their sirens on both sides and commanded them to get onto the sidewalk, but the dancers stayed. leading chants of China.
I love it. They're like you can picture how Antifa is imagining this in their head. They're like, the evil PSL tried to make us get back on the sidewalk with their bullhorns. They're trying to paint the PSL like they're the police. It's so funny. Average person, can we say for certain PSL is Stalinist, or is that still speculation? No, the PSL is 100% Stalinist. Yeah, they're very Stalinist. So guys, one of the issues on the left is, okay, among revolutionary groups on the left, you have Marxist-Leninists. Antifa is probably going to be Marxist-Leninist. Revolutionary Communists of America are Marxist-Leninists. Most queer Marxists are Marxist-Leninists. And then you have Stalinists. And Marxist-Leninists do not like Stalinists at all. And this might sound weird, right? You're like, they're all communists. Why wouldn't they like each other? Well, Marxist-Leninists believe that Stalin ruined everything. They think that real socialism has never been tried because Stalin failed. And so you've got the Party for Socialism and Liberation that is Stalinist and also has roots in Mao because Mao is in the tradition of Stalin. And then you've got these other leftist organizations that are Marxist-Leninists that overtly denounce Stalin, and they don't like him and they don't like other Stalinist organizations. So one of the things that we're seeing here is that Antifa, at least these people, are Marxist-Leninists. The PSL are Stalinists, and so they go like this. They don't like each other. People think the left always agrees. The left does not always agree. Appreciate the super chat.
Troopers blared their sirens on both.
Trotskyists, hang on, this is related. Are Trotskyists a separate group? Typically, Marxist-Leninists believe that Trotsky was the rightful inheritor. So typically, Trotsky would be grouped in with the Marxist-Leninists. But it's also like they kind of don't know because Trotsky didn't really get his chance and then he got assassinated and all that stuff.
Troopers blared their sirens on both sides and commanded them to get onto the sidewalk, but the dancers stayed, leading chants of China la migra, Tinga la migra. Meanwhile, at the Pickle IC facility, police tear gassed the remaining revelers and tackled some of them to the ground, pushing the crowd away from the building. Unaware of this, the cheerleaders at the Capitol continued to dance, especially when the walk signal was on, inspiring some of the crowd to flood out across the street.
They had a dance party.
The crowd remobilized in waves. This first wave took a sidewalk route back to the Pickle, where it collided with the smaller splinter group that had just been gassed. Together, they created a barrier of scooters across the street behind them and began to square off with the police in front of them.
Okay, they created a barrier of scooters across the street behind them and began to square off with the police in front of them. Here you can see. So one of the things they do in these cities is they go and they get these scooters that like you can rent out on the sidewalk. They use the scooters as weapons. So in Los Angeles, we saw they were getting these scooters and throwing them off the freeway overpass at the cops. In Seattle yesterday, footage came out of Antifa was getting all the bikes off of these bike racks and then putting them all in a giant pile and zip tying them together. I thought they were trying to create a barrier of some sort or like a fence or something, but apparently they were trying to light them on fire. And the reason they were trying to light them on fire is they wanted to create an explosion outside of the police station and use the batteries of the bikes to do it. So this is part of what they do. They look for things in the streets that they can use as weapons, that they can use as barriers and all that stuff, and then they use it in that way.
Together, they created a barrier of scooters across the street behind them and began to square off with the police in front of them. Protesters stand behind a line of electric scooters dragged into the streets to defend against police incursions. Back at the Capitol, a chant of whose streets? Our streets brought the hundreds still on the sidewalk back into the intersection and returning south on Congress Avenue. Almost immediately, two motorcycle cops confronted the crowd. People hesitated but pushed on. The chopper cops tried to discourage them by blaring their sirens and driving forward. One motorcycle drove into the crowd at high speed, forcing protesters to jump aside. There were immediate consequences for his aggression. A crowd surrounded his vehicle and forced him off of it into the ground.
Hang on.
Meanwhile,
This is a common question. How many pallets of bricks have you actually seen? I'm not talking about past years. I'm not talking about 2020. I'm talking about right now. Because I haven't seen any pallets of bricks. And I've looked. I've seen a suspicious pile of rocks in an alleyway. Maybe someone dropped that off. Maybe Antifa stole it. I've seen Antifa taking a hammer and beating some concrete blocks on a sidewalk in order to be able to create rocks to throw at people. I don't think you did. I don't think you did. Where did you see them? Guys, I see this all the time from conservatives where you guys say you've seen things that you haven't seen and that I know you haven't seen because I pay attention to everything. Okay? I do not believe currently there is a significant number of these pallets of bricks being dropped off because I watch all the on-the-ground footage I can and I haven't seen them. Maybe there are. Maybe you guys know something I don't. You guys can send me those links. Send them to me in my DMs on Twitter. Send them to me in my DMs on Substack. The cinder blocks were put there by Home Depot to block the gates to block access to their loading docks. See, this is what I knew. I fucking knew it was something like this. I knew it was something like this. So Home Depot put the cinder blocks there to block access to a loading dock. It wasn't a grand conspiracy, guys. So I appreciate that there's a lot of misinformation out there. This is why we do this. Listen, if Antifa is actually doing the cinder block thing, they're going to write about it. If Antifa is actually doing the brick thing, they are writing on the internet about the violent things they want to do. They're not unclear about the violent things they want to do. If they're doing it, they will take credit for it. There's all sorts of shit on this website about violent, illegal things that they do. If they are doing it, they will tell us they're doing it. But until then, I'm going to assume that either it's not really happening, it's bullshit propaganda, it's another mistake, or it's like a coincidence, like Home Depot or something did it. Maybe someone stole something from a construction site. That does happen. But I promise you, if they're doing it, they're going to take credit for it, and we'll find that when we look in the documents.
meanwhile, the news arrived that the small group at the Pickle building had been gassed and dispersed with a few arrests made. Although this caused a moment of hesitation, when the crowd rounded 8th Street and came upon the barrier line of lime scooters, people became jubilant. A state trooper Pepper sprays a protester after a confrontation in response to officers driving their motorcycles into the crowd. Faced with a line of police blocking access to the building, the mostly reassembled crowd turned around. When they reached Congress Avenue again, moving west, there was a line of cruisers directly ahead and a line of bike cops to the left. Immediately, the crowd found a gap in the bike line on the sidewalk and flooded through it.
Hang on. Sometimes I see questions in the chat and I just want to answer them when they come up. Have you seen any Satanism on either side? What do these people consider their religion? Okay. I've never seen Satanism. What I have seen... Do you guys want to see what an abortion shrine looks like? Should we take a break from Antifa documents to see what an abortion shrine looks like? Press 1 in the chat if you want to see what an abortion shrine looks like. Press 2 in the chat if you just want to keep going. Let me know. So in general, what leftists believe about religion, leftists are not as anti-religion as you seem to think, as people think they are. Leftists generally believe that religion will disappear when capitalism disappears. I've never seen overt Satanism on the left. I have seen an abortion shrine, though. And I'm going to show you the abortion shrine because I'm seeing a lot of ones in the chat. Okay, give me 1 second, please. I'm going to pull up a document. Hang on. Let's get these on my screen. Okay. We're going to go back into the archives, and I'm going to take you back to the first ever undercover thing that I did. And the first ever undercover thing that I did was at a socialist reproductive justice conference. I went to a whole conference and spent a whole day with the Shout Your Abortion people. And the craziest thing that I saw on the day that I went to the abortion conference was I went on a tour of how to have a self-managed abortion, where they taught me how to take the abortion pill, and they walked me through all the steps in taking the abortion pill. And this was my tour guide, and her t-shirt had the abortion pill on it. This was at Hampshire College in Massachusetts, by the way. If people want to follow along with the pictures, I'll put this link in the chat. This was in April of 2023. And there were many steps to the abortion tour. First, you had to go to the living room. And in the living room on the abortion tour, they basically talked about a bunch of reasons why you might want to have an at-home self-abortion. Dragon Ball says, I don't understand why conservatives are obsessed with figuring out who's funding this. It doesn't matter. If all the funding was discovered and stopped, leftists would still be marching and wreaking havoc. Yeah, that's actually 100% correct. I think a lot of the, listen, it's not a bad idea to know where the funding is coming from, but generally speaking, I think where the funding is coming from is not actually the most important thing. The most important thing is, what are they actually doing? Okay. Yeah, Hong Kong is pro-capitalist. I'm going to say that. Dragon Balls is in Hong Kong too, so he would agree. So this is the living room in the abortion tour, where they teach you all the reasons why you're supposed to have an abortion. And then they take you into the kitchen. This is the kitchen on the abortion tour. And in the kitchen, they teach you how to have a nice cup of tea while you're having your self-managed at-home abortion. And they talk about, here are all the things you're going to need for your self-managed abortion. You're going to need sweatpants and tea and a heating pad. And maybe a friend can make you a gift basket with all of these things in it to give you a gift when you have your abortion. This is the bedroom where you will lay down while you are waiting for your abortion pills to take effect. Yeah, Rich, I'm sorry, bro. I think you're just making this up, because I can look at the pictures from their protests and know they don't have $200 backpacks. I can look at the pictures directly. So please refrain from that, bro. You're making stuff up. We don't do that here. Socialism is their religion. It is a cult. I definitely agree with that. This is the increase in well, these are the people who have self-managed abortions. So you can see it's mostly for Black and Latino people. This is the bathroom where, after you take your abortion pills, you go and you sit on the toilet and you bleed your child out into the toilet. And I'm told in the abortion tour, there is a lot of blood and occasionally a body part that will bleed out into the toilet. And that's why when you get a self-managed abortion, you are supposed to have an abortion doula. An abortion doula is a woman that comes and she sits on a stool next to the toilet, and she holds your hand as you bleed your child into the toilet, and she might make you tea as well. And I swear to God, this is all real. And they're doing this tour with a completely straight face. And then once you have aborted your own child and it has bled into the toilet, you go and you worship at the abortion shrine. The last stop on the tour is actually a real abortion shrine. And some people asked me at the time when I did this, they were like, Karlyn, are they worshiping for the soul of the child that they just aborted and bled into the toilet? And I said, no, they're not. They're not. This is what's on the abortion shrine, and all sorts of mystical things. And there's a fertility goddess on the abortion shrine. This is a fertility goddess, which is ironic. But if I go to another picture, this is a close-up of one of the things on the abortion shrine. This is in another article that I had. On this element right here, what it says is, loving yourself is the greatest revolution. You can see there's text on the outside of this. This is a self-worship abortion shrine. And so have I seen Satanism at these things? No. But I was pretty sick to my stomach at the end of this self-managed abortion tour, and I'm actually pro-choice. I'm pro-choice with limits, 3 months with some exceptions. This abortion tour is the closest thing that I've ever come to becoming pro-life in my life, because I'm like, You're literally worshiping at a shrine to worship yourself after you bleed your child into the toilet. That's just great. Abortion is a means to liberate women from family. That is 100% true. 100%. Well, it's not satanic in that it's not satanic, but it is what it is. Anyway, that's probably the closest I've ever gotten to Satanism. Thank you guys for allowing me to take a little bit of break from Antifa. I hope you guys enjoyed the adventure into the land of self-managed abortions. We'll talk about reproductive justice another day on the channel. Reproductive justice is a trip. Reproductive justice is a whole other set of leftist activism that is batshit insane. Anyway, let's get back to Antifa. We've still got work to do.
Immediately, the crowd found a gap in the
Right
bike line on the sidewalk and flooded through it, embodying the watchword of the Hong Kong uprising of 2019. Be water. Though many were too young to have heard this saying in the George Floyd rebellion of 2020. The crowd quickly realized what a victory this evasive maneuver was. Suddenly, there were no flashing lights to be seen. They had broken out of the police cordon. For the next few hours, they were able to move freely through downtown Austin. China la migra resounded throughout the downtown streets. Rambunctious and playful activity escalated, each gesture building upon the last. Everything that wasn't nailed down was moved into the street. Orange barrels, scooters, event signs. The muses sang to painters from banks and venture capital firms. Some downtown businesses lost windows. Some parked Lexuses lost the wind in their sails. The crowd proceeded south down Congress.
Wait.
Reaching the
That's actually hilarious. Listen to how Antifa writes. Some downtown businesses lost windows because Antifa hit the windows with a hammer. Some parked Lexuses lost the wind in their sails because Antifa took a knife and stuck it into their tires. Like, they're talking about the destruction of private property here. They're talking about the bourgeois property of the rich people.
The crowd proceeded south down Congress, reaching the Congress Bridge and starting across it. At this point, the front of the march was far ahead of the rest of the march. People were uncertain about crossing the bridge out of downtown. Some started moving onto the sidewalk. There was a moment of hesitation before the crowd doubled back, heading back to familiar targets like City Hall, the Capitol, and downtown in general. Then they moved west on MLK along the river, stopping at City Hall to hang the Mexican flag over the balcony before traveling north 10 long Texas blocks all the way back to the Capitol. Fortunately, there, they encountered the remains of the group that had originally remained at the JJ Pickle building until they were tear-gassed and dispersed. There were chants of LA lead the way. Bolstered back up to 200 or 300 people, the crowd finally returned to the Pickle building. More windows were broken. Some trucks showed up, and the drivers did burnouts while blasting electrifying music. People emptied water from construction barricades, flooding the street. Everyone loved it. Raucousness, dance party, good cheer. Protesters overturned construction barricades, emptying them and filling the street with water. The crowd continued on down to 6th Street, the main drag for nightlife. A scooter shattered the custom neon sign of the mothership, Joe Rogan's Comedy Bar.
They destroyed the sign of Joe Rogan's bar? Someone go tell Joe Rogan that Antifa has claimed responsibility for destroying the neon sign at Joe Rogan's Comedy Bar. Poor Joe Rogan, he'll have to buy a new sign.
A scooter shattered the custom neon sign of the mothership, Joe Rogan's Comedy Bar. Though the venue appeared closed with its shutter rolled down, it was later learned from Reddit that there was a show going on inside. After this point, the crowd struggled to decide on a route, which slowed it down. This indecisiveness led the crowd to fall back on habit rather than strategy. Memory carried it against its better interests back towards the Capitol and the police. After not seeing a single cop for nearly 2 hours, the crowd began to encounter motorcycle units at intersections again. Rather than pushing through these units as people had done at first, which the crowd easily could have done again, the crowd allowed the police to determine their route. This went on for at least 20 minutes. That was a fatal mistake. The crowd was permitting the police to guide them into an ambush. People could have moved farther away and dispersed with no arrests, but instead, they walked directly into a trap. After marching back up 6th Street, the crowd continued west past Congress, the street leading to the Capitol building. Within a few blocks, a line of state troopers on motorcycles confronted the march, blocking the way forward. Once again, indecisive, the crowd began to split up into different groups, one going north, one south, before consolidating into a single mass heading south. They barely got halfway.
I just want to point something out. Every part of this action is meticulously documented. Every part of what happened, the strategy behind it, why they did what they did, how they did it, they write all this stuff down immediately. They send it out to CrimeThink. The reason that this is on CrimeThink's website is the purpose of this is to communicate this out to other Antifa groups all over the country so that they can learn from what they did in Austin. Antifa learns from each other, guys. All the documents on this website, they're published with the intent of communicating with this decentralized network of cells all over the country so they can learn from each other. I just want to point out, insane people don't do this. Mentally ill people don't do this. People who have a personality disorder don't do this. This is highly strategic. This is highly coordinated. They do this because this is how they're going to get their new world, okay? Or that's what they believe. And so they take the time to do highly detailed after action reports, learning from what they did so they can do it better next time. And I'll tell you this too, the right doesn't do this. The right does not communicate with each other in the same way. The left is a collective. They operate like a collective. They believe that they are responsible for everyone else. And so this is one of the reasons why saying they're mentally ill is not even accurate, because insane people don't operate like this. They just don't. Thank you, Suzanne. I appreciate you.
They barely got halfway down the block before two unmarked white vans in the intersection ahead unloaded squads of APD riot cops armed with pepperball guns. Aware that they were in danger of being cornered, the crowd turned down an alley. Those running ahead quickly turned back as a side-by-side full of more APD riot cops blocked the intersection. The APD cops dismounted and chased people down the alley, grabbing people at random and shooting pepper balls at gas protesters and some of their own officers for good measure. This pincer move dispersed much of the crowd and led to a handful of arrests. Shortly after this, a part of the crowd regrouped in front of the downtown tower that hosts the offices of Indeed, the job search company. There, two LR-80 tanks confronted them on a busy street full of cars. The crowd targeted the operators of these tanks, pelting them with projectiles, while some of the trucks that had been following the protest prevented the tanks from moving further. This combination of tactics ultimately led to the tanks backing off. At this point, the remaining participants dispersed for the evening. Why did so much time pass during which the police were nowhere to be seen? First, the blockading genuinely interrupted their ability to pursue the march.
Yo!
This was something that the Austin police had.
So now they're saying, here are the things that we did that disrupted the operations of the police.
This was something that the Austin police had not experienced on this scale before. Second, they lacked the numbers to keep up with and corral the protest, and the combativeness of the crowd increased the costs they had to calculate for any engagement. And at the same time, while this crowd was marching, there was still a group surrounding and tagging the federal building and then clashing with cops. So their forces were split between that engagement, defending the Capitol, and chasing us.
Oh,
As
hang
a
on.
police officer described.
Hang on. Hey, Christopher, our new friend Christopher. This is more like a fandom fetish of antisocial behavior. Christopher, wait till we introduce you to the wonderful world of queer Marxism and how obsessed queer Marxists are with BDSM as a political statement, and how obsessed queer Marxists are with polyamory and non-traditional relationships, not because they're obsessed with sex, but because they use these things as a political statement to queer the nuclear family. You think we've hit fetish yet? Oh, Christopher, just wait. Oh yeah, Christopher, go back and watch the Fat Studies episode that we did last week. You are in for a wild ride, bro. Like I told you guys, for everyone here that's new to socialism, you guys ain't seen nothing yet. I will show you the craziest shit you've ever seen on the internet, and it's not even close. This was supposed to be Queer Marxism Month. We were going to be talking about queer Marxism all month in honor of Pride Month. But no, the riots had to destroy my plans. We can't talk about it anymore. We have to talk about this.
As a police officer described in response to the 2020 uprising, we can handle one 10,000 person protest, but 10 1,000 person protests throughout the city will overwhelm us. Perhaps the police were told to stand down, or not to create a confrontation in the neighborhood that the march passed through, or to focus on the Capitol and the federal building, but for now, we don't know. The march didn't experience significant confrontation with the police until we returned to the Capitol, after which they were only trying to keep up with a single crowd. After that point, when the crowd continued marching, the police were likely clearing the streets and coming up with plans to disperse the crowd, leading to the ambush at the end.
Hang on. We're getting a great question from Jared. Let's just look at this picture. This is the crowd in Austin, guys. I understand it's Austin. Austin is a weird part of Texas. It's very blue. But look at the crowd in Austin that they got to come out on a weekday. Jared, thank you for the good question. How does the right push back against something so decentralized with the amount of organizing they have, reinforce the state, and its need to go outside the current bounds of the system to do so? Jared, for my money, what I always tell people is I think what people need to do is you guys need to go back to basics. This is what we do on my channel. We're going back to basics and we're learning as much as we can about the enemy. The biggest challenge that the right has right now is that the right does not understand the enemy they are fighting. The right has horrible influencers. Horrible. You guys have the worst influencers. They lie to you all the time. They tell you things that aren't true. They write books about things they just made up. When you compare it to what the real left does in the real world, it doesn't compare. When you look at the clickbait content on Twitter that gets viral and is shared by all the big names, if you look at the evidence in the real world, it doesn't align. It's not the same. And it took me a long time to figure this out, by the way. And so I don't want anyone to feel bad. But what I will tell you is people need to go back to basics. If you actually want to defeat the left, you have got to learn who the left is. You've got to learn what they believe. You've got to learn what they care about. You have to learn how they operate. The whole purpose of this exercise and what we do on my channel and in my community is we learn as much about the left as possible. I'm doing that because I want you guys to go into your communities, talk to your friends, talk to your family, and teach them everything you learn here. Use the resources I give you on the Substack, the videos that I create. Ask me for resources if you don't have it already. Use the resources I give you to go and teach other people. Because until the right understands the actual enemy, ain't nothing gonna work. Because right now, Anna Paulina Luna is introducing some sort of bill in Congress against Code Pink. Code Pink is one of the least worried about, I'm not worried about Code Pink as an organization on the left. So the right is obsessed with doing things that are not actually addressing the real problem because they don't understand what the real problem is. And so we need to teach people what the real problem is so that people can put solutions in place that will actually impact the real problem. That is step number one. If people don't start learning who the real left actually is based on what they're doing in the real world, then there is no tactic that I can give you that will ever work. Which sucks, but this is where we are. Steve O'Devil, always educational. Alice in Queerland is so good and the ending inspiring. To the new folks, stick around. Oh, yeah. So Steve-O is talking about, okay, I'm going to do a shameless plug because you gave me the opportunity to do so. I just released a book this week. It's a dark satire based on Alice in Wonderland. You guys can support the work I'm doing by buying a copy of Alice in Queerland. If you like it, Steve-O, I'm looking for a review on Amazon from you. I don't have that review yet. This is a story about Alice getting up in the middle of her class in middle school and asking, what is a woman? And then she gets sent to DEI training to rid her of her gender identity. And it's basically a dark satire based on Alice in Wonderland. And so that's what Alice in Queerland is. I had a ton of fun writing this book. I hope people like it. It is available on Amazon in paperback and Kindle. It's not an audio yet, but I'll work on the audio. So thank you for the super chat, Steve-O. I have a bunch of other books too, guys. If you want to buy my other books, you can head over to redmenacepress.com. You can find my books there. I've got a couple books I'm working on later this year, doing deep dives into queer Marxism. But I had a ton of fun writing Alice in Queerland. I thought it was great. I had another super chat that came in. Let me see. Alex, have you showed our newbies the Dog Park Dissidents music video yet? Let's save that until the end. I'll do the Dog Park Dissidents at the end. How about that? Okay? We'll do Dog Park Dissidents at the end. All right, let's go back to our document. This is long. We're not going to be able to get to that video today, but that's all right.
A growing crowd occupies the street in front of the federal building. We'll
that?
conclude with some conclusions about the events of the evening and about what can come next. The main takeaway from the evening is that this moment is explosive. A minimum of physical preparation and a bit of boldness suffice to transform what would have been a predictable, toothless rally at the Capitol into the most powerful demonstration against the racist and authoritarian regime that Austin has seen since 2020. The crowd was more tactically equipped than usual, with several individuals having brought gloves, goggles, art supplies, and respirators. But the most important thing is that right now, people feel urgency. Also, it is important to plan for success. Demonstrators should arrive with an array of possible objectives in mind, in case they easily accomplish their initial goal. But once a march starts to repeat itself, doubling back on the same territory with diminishing returns, it may be time to conclude. In this case, the participants surprised themselves by getting past the police and opening up a new horizon of possibility. Yet after a while, they lost the ability to identify new targets and stay creative, instead becoming trapped in a loop circling the same few blocks of downtown. The crowd should either have dispersed earlier or identified a new target outside the territory they had repeatedly marched through. Once the crowd lost the ability to come up with new targets, move in new directions, or at least keep growing, it was only a matter of time before the police were able to regroup and launch an offensive.
See, what they're saying is you always have to have a purpose to what they're doing. This is such a strategic document. They're saying if you're going to be out causing trouble, then make sure you have a purpose with what you're doing. Because if you're just walking around aimlessly, like breaking things and doing things you shouldn't be, eventually the police are going to catch on and they're going to corral you. So you always have to have a purpose. You always have to have a goal. And if you don't have that, then go home.
Once the crowd lost the ability to come up with new targets, move in new directions, or at least keep growing, it was only a matter of time before the police were able to regroup and launch an offensive. Similarly, just as it is crucial to resist the efforts of self-appointed leaders to dictate what a demonstration can do, whenever possible, people should resist the efforts of police to determine their movements. When the crowd encountered a few chopper cops or a single cruiser in its way, some people would shout they're kettling us and turn around rather than charging through. In fact, this is what enabled the police to herd the crowd directly into a situation in which they almost were kettled. It is important to be aware of efforts to kettle a crowd.
Do you guys know what kettle means? Do they have an explainer? So, kettling and they've got a link to a previous document they did about mass arrests. Kettling is what they've been doing in Los Angeles, where basically there's a curfew. And if you're out after curfew, the police are going to kettle you, which is basically the police form like a perimeter and they trap you in a giant circle, and then they arrest everyone in the circle. So they're explicitly explaining here, like, hey, if you end up getting arrested, try to make the best of it. By the way, they do train to get arrested, but they're trying to warn people, like, this is how you get trapped in these situations. Come on, play.
Kettle.
Oh, not that. Play the whole thing.
It is important to be aware of efforts to kettle a crowd, but often the best way to avoid this is to move through police lines where they are thin before they are reinforced. Finally, it can help to have material reinforcements ready for delivery well after a march gets underway. As the wave of resistance that started in Minneapolis and spread to Los Angeles unfolds into a nationwide revolt, we can anticipate more hot demonstrations.
As a wave of resistance that started in Minneapolis, people don't know this. The start of this was not actually Los Angeles. The start of this, and they documented this on their website too, the start of this was people pushing back on ICE deportations in Minneapolis. Minneapolis was the spark that lit Los Angeles. Does everyone understand that? A couple people, Antifa, Minneapolis is extremely leftist, stood up to ICE deportations in Minneapolis. This got almost no media coverage, but Antifa knew about it and they communicated about it. And guess what? The people in Los Angeles copied the people in Minneapolis. Yup, the home of George Floyd. Exactly.
As the wave of resistance that started in Minneapolis and spread to Los Angeles unfolds into a nationwide revolt, we can anticipate more hot demonstrations to come. Now we know that people will turn out to combative mass demonstrations here, if they're invited to. Ahead of the next moment of possibility, there are a few things that crews could do now to prepare. The window of opportunity is open right now.
It missed all the bullet points. Okay, what can crews do to prepare? I have to read these. Find a minute to rest, heal, get grounded, share food, reflect on your experiences so you can be ready to act with all the resources at your disposal when time comes. So they're telling people, don't rush in, bide your time, make sure you're taking care of yourself. Identify potential targets and what kind of actions they could render possible. These could be specific buildings, institutions, neighborhoods, commercial districts. Generate flyers to circulate and build popular consciousness around those targets. So they're telling people, make a hit list of the things that you want to go after. Decide as a crew what kinds of interventions you can make to help shift dynamics in the favor of the crowd. Anytime Antifa says the crowd, they mean them. Essentially, they mean the protesters or the rioters. Could you decisively propose a new target and direct the crowd to it? Do you have a mutual aid project that could distribute gas masks? Oh! People have been asking me about gas masks. Check this out. Mutual aid projects are how the left funds a lot of its protests. Mutual aid projects are just like nonprofits or organizations that open up where some leftists donate money to these organizations. Those organizations then take that money and they buy things like gas masks or goggles or umbrellas or other things that Antifa uses in the protests. So the gas mask that you guys saw getting handed out, I'll bet you money it was funded by a mutual aid project. Mutual aid projects tend not to be extremely well funded. This is not USAID. This is not Soros. This is not either of those things. This is a mutual aid project that is specific about raising money within the leftist community in order to buy stuff that they need to do this stuff. Does that make sense to everyone? Could you coordinate communications and outreach efforts to draw more people to the streets and reinforce the demonstrations? Can you mobilize simultaneous actions at multiple locations, especially locations in which nothing has happened before? Can you open up new spaces to reinforce and support frontliners? Can you help sustain the demonstrations with food, medic support, water, transport, and other material needs? So they're thinking through, here are all the things that we need to do to sustain these protests, to sustain these riots, to sustain this violent insurrection in the long term. Yeah, or you can just steal stuff from Target. That is absolutely an option, 100%. Down here, play.
The window of opportunity is open right now, and the possibilities are endless. It is up to all of us to bring those possibilities into existence before the forces that seek to preserve a world of police, borders, and exploitation can slam it shut.
Is that it? That's it. That is the end of the document. All right. So that is the Antifa document. That is the after action report for Austin, Texas. It just got posted on their website today. That is their perception of what happened in Texas, and that is what they want other groups all over the country to know. Now, we're in a little bit of a time crunch, so we're not going to be able to watch that other video today because in about 40 minutes, or even a little bit less than that, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing Spy Stream in about 40 minutes. We are going inside a live leftist organizing call at 8 p.m. It will be a different stream than this one, so I'm going to shut this stream down and we're going to do that, but don't leave yet. I've got other things. We're going to do a couple other things. Richard, you'd be a great guest on Tim Pool. Ugh. Have I ever been on his show? No. Would I ever consider going on his show? I really don't want to. I don't like Tim Pool, and Tim Pool doesn't like me. Tim Pool is afraid of me. I don't think Tim Pool would let me talk. I don't think it would actually be a good use of my time. I appreciate that you liked him, and I appreciate a lot of people out there liked him. Tim, quite frankly, is about 2 years behind me in his understanding of this, at least 1 year. I'm at least 1 year ahead of Tim Pool, and I think I'm actually farther ahead of him than that. I don't know, man. Like, it's difficult to translate what I do to going on someone's show because I can't have in-depth conversations with them, and they usually don't want to listen. So I'm a little reticent, if I'm honest. I'm a little reticent. I don't really want to. I really don't want to, but I appreciate that people want me to. But can it just be someone else? Can I go on almost any other show on the internet? Like literally almost any other show on the internet? Can you guys make some other recommendations? How about this? Why don't you guys go out to your favorite influencers and ask them to talk to me? Because chances are your favorite influencers have been ignoring my work for like literally years. So, no. Oh, yo, no. Hey, Christopher, ask Konstantin Kisin about me sometime. Konstantin Kisin hates me because I'm so much smarter than him. It's not even funny. I'm about 1,000 times smarter than Konstantin Kisin. He hates me. Konstantin Kisin was well aware of the work I'm doing, and he gaslit his audience to say, Karlyn just fights with people on the internet and she doesn't actually do anything productive. He actually did that to me. So, no, I will not go on Konstantin Kisin's show. That will not happen, ever. But, guys, if you have influencers and you want them to talk to me, tell them. I've been trying to get people to listen for years. You guys don't even know. Konstantin Kisin has called me a psycho on more than one occasion. Do you guys think I'm crazy? You're seeing the documents right here. Am I crazy? I don't think I am. Anyway, if you guys have favorite influencers, tell them to DM me on Twitter. Someone tell Tim Pool to unblock me on Twitter. Tim Pool has me blocked on Twitter. That's how afraid he is of me. Anyway. I will talk to Andrew Wilson, though. I'll talk to him because I like Andrew Wilson. Anyway, so guys, we're going to be switching to another stream in about 20 minutes. Do you guys want to see some crazy leftist content before we do that? Do you guys just want to get a taste of some other leftist content just because there's so many new people here? All right, we're going to do that. So, my normal viewers are going to hate me for doing this. Okay. I have two things I want to show you guys. Number one, I want to talk about a band called the Dog Park Dissidents. Now, if you've never watched Queer Marxism with me before, Queer Marxism is like Antifa, except way, way, way worse. And Queer Marxism has punk bands, and Queer Marxism developed in punk subculture. And I use one of those songs to kind of teach people what queer Marxists believe. So I'm going to play you, and this is a great song. This is a great song for Pride Month. I'm going to play you the Queer Marxist Anthem. And the Queer Marxist Anthem is a song by a group called the Dog Park Dissidents. And it's called Queer as in Fuck You. And you guys can let me know what you think of this song in the chat. And enjoy. Here it is.
I don't wanna get married. I don't wanna be just like you. Nobody bothered to ask me. They said I ought to be just like you. Well, I could get a marriage license for a husband and me, so I could use it as insurance for my HART. Since I can file taxi with the same gender spouse, I shouldn't feel so bad getting kicked out of my house. Don't send me a rainbow. Your life has never done shit for me. Don't wanna seat at your table. A fucking invitation to your party. Wanna celebrate a game on your cable TV. Well, trans lesbians are calling southern bodies stuff to eat. You paid the world for CEOs to suck on some dick. Well, all the kids on the street are getting belted with whips. I don't wanna be equal, 'cause I know I'm fucking better than you. Your moderation is lethal. Yet I'm unwilling to do what I need to. There's no protection that this nation seems to offer to me. Just all it brings is to the things like gay bourgeoisie. So fuck off with your evil South American flag. The only colors that I need are the pink and the black.
All right, guys, the Queer Marxism Project is a project that I'm just kicking off to document all this crazy queer Marxist stuff because it is a little bit different than what people understand. A lot of people think that queer is about being gay, queer is about being trans. It's really not. And so we study queer Marxism a lot on the channel. There is an overlap between Antifa and queer Marxism. And the more you understand queer Marxism, the more you're going to understand why they want to abolish the family, what they have planned for society. Queer Marxism is some of the most dystopian stuff in the world. And so that's your introduction to queer Marxism. They don't want gay marriage. They don't want to be in the military. They don't want to assimilate. They don't want any of that. Stay tuned for queer Marxism. The last thing I'm going to play for you guys before we end the stream, and I know, again, my regulars are going to be really happy that we're doing this. This is for Trendolin. Do you guys know what your kids are learning in middle school or elementary school? This is a sex ed company called amaze.org. Amaze.org creates animated videos that teach your children about sex in school. They start using these videos about sex in school from kindergarten, but usually they're targeted at middle school. And I want to show you guys the video. Do you guys want to see how they are teaching your kids to be non-binary? Do you guys want to see how they're messing with your kids' gender identity? This is a video explicitly produced to teach kids that if they just become trans or queer or non-binary, then they will get more social media followers and they will have more friends. I want to warn you that you're going to have this song stuck in your head for the rest of the day, and it's going to be really great and really fun, and you're really going to appreciate it. And enjoy.
No matter how you're born, we each have the style. I'll tell you in a while exactly what I like.
Ariana and Renee, they both are born girls. They go into their changing rooms. Ariana loves twirls. That's not for Renee. Pink will not do. All girls don't wear dresses, they wear pants too. As Renee lost her mind, what's running through her head? Ariana can fix this, no is what she said.
When you put it on, you do a little groove. You know you've got to move. That's how you know you've got it right.
This is me, who I am. See me in full colors, me like no other. Originality.
No matter how you're born, we each have the style. I'll tell you in a while exactly what I like.
Bryce and Jason, they both are born boys. They go into their changing rooms. Bryce jumps out with joy. Jason has a different idea. The sweater is where it's at. Bryce has to fix this. Here, try this or that. Wait just 1 second. Don't tell him how to dress. Ariana knows this. Only Jason can express.
This is me, who I am. See me in full colors, me like no other. Originality.
Here we go. Trans.
I'll tell you in a while
Wait.
exactly what I like.
Darla and Charles, one girl and one boy. They go into their changing rooms. Charles is feeling coy. Others are thrilled with the look, but Charles is quite unhappy. Let's try this again. Yeah, this is snappy. Some are confused. They just don't understand. Charles, now Charlotte is certain. Ariana's her biggest fan. Some might keep their distance, but others will come around. Come on over, Darla. Show us what you found. Darla had something on, but is not quite convinced. She wants to try again, yet she still gives a wince. Nope, not right either. Why can't she decide? Sometimes it takes time, only she can find her stride. Darla presents an outfit. The new name is Darren. Now everything feels right. The person within he's sharing.
When you put it on, you do a little groove. You know you've got to move. That's how you know you've got it right.
This is me, who I am. See me in full colors, me like no other. Originality.
Here we have Skylar, born a boy or girl.
Non-binary.
Not interested in the girl look.
The non-binary look.
Won't give the boy look a whirl. Skylar wants a new path, and it isn't one of those. This is a unique look from Skylar's head to toe.
When you put it on, you do a little groove. You know you've got to move. That's how you know you've got it right.
This is me, who I am. See me in full colors, me like no other. Originality, who I am. See me in full colors, me like no other. Originality.
So this is the type of stuff that would actually be funded by USAID, by the way. That is shown in school to kids to teach them how to be non-binary. We've got a couple extra minutes. Do you guys want to do the boner song? Do you guys want to do one more song before we switch over to our other stream? Do you guys want to do the boner song? It's just fun. Shit, I have to find it. Amaze. Well, that's not going to bring that. That's not going to bring that up. Okay, this is more of a. This is the most This is a wholesome sex ed video. Okay, this is probably the most wholesome sex ed video that the left is showing your kids. Do you guys want to learn about boners? Let's do it. Okay, fine, whatever.
Well, I need to see what my life is about. As
Nope, play.
Martin founder figures it out. It sure feels funny to know I'm not alone, right on the money. He stands up on his Oh, since I was little, has always been my friend, but now my middle can beat me around the bend. Oh no, 'cause that's how the boner grows. That's how the boner grows. Tell me I'm not alone. Out in the sand we make impressions where we're at, might come in handy if you need to change a flat. Oh, my crazy compass is way out of control, and my equator grows another pole. Oh, that's how the boner grows. That's how the boner grows. It's not really about. They say it's long. Each guy gets his own, so we've erected all these monuments in stone. That's how the boner grows. 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 So I'm never alone.
So now you guys know how the boner grows. I hope you feel really good about your tax dollars going for this. That was probably shown to your kids in elementary school. Congratulations. And again, that's like the most wholesome song on this whole channel. And we might do a deep dive into Amaze videos another day. We've done them before. But just know that if you are new to my channel and you've never watched my content before, you are now initiated into the cult of anti-communist insanity that is the queer Marxist left that is using cartoons of penguins talking about being non-binary to indoctrinate your kids into gender ideology. Congratulations, welcome. I wish we had some more time right now, but we don't have more time because I have to shut down this stream because we're going to be doing a spy stream in about 10 minutes, okay? So next up, this is not the last stream on the channel today. This is just the first stream. Next up, I'm going to be streaming a leftist organizing meeting. It's going to be in a different stream on the channel because I like to keep these things separate. This is kind of a progressive, we hate the millionaires and the billionaires thing. But if you want to see inside a real leftist organizing meeting, you can join me. I'm going to start up the stream in about 10 minutes. I'm going to shut this one down. I'm going to take a teeny tiny little break. And then we're going to be doing spy stream. And the presentation actually starts at 8 p.m. So go get a snack. Go get a beer. Go get something stronger if you want. Who am I to judge? Join me for Spy Stream at 8 p.m. If you aren't going to do that, guys, welcome to the channel. If you're new here, please make sure you subscribe to my content. I would really appreciate it. Please make sure you mount the like button on the way out the door to let YouTube know to recommend my content. I have finally broken out of the YouTube shadow ban, and I would really like to stay broken out of the YouTube shadow ban. And you guys can help me stay out of the YouTube shadow ban and get this content in front of more people so we can educate more people on the real far left. Liking the video, sharing the video, subscribing, doing all that stuff. I stream Monday through Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, Saturdays at 6 p.m. I'm going to go take a short break. I will be back to do the second stream in a couple minutes. And thanks to everyone who came out for the first time. I really do appreciate it. We'll see you soon. Bye.
How are you feeling? How long have you been here?
3 months, May 17th.
And what brought you?
That's difficult to answer.
clear. How is it that playing the piano for people has eventually resulted in your being here in the hospital?
That's difficult to answer.